Hey there, guys. Sorry, I haven't made an update for a while, but it's just I'm kind of reaching a point in my life where I'm just feeling really stuck. And I was watching a bunch of Tony Robbins videos, and then I was watching a video about mental illness and stuff, and about PTSD, and I kind of just I'm starting to thinking like I've seen a lot of I've seen a lot of I've had a lot of help because I was a troubled kid growing up, and I'm gonna basically this video is gonna be my story for in a very structured kind of like specific kind of set of ways as far as I can remember and from what people have told me. So maybe somebody out there who's a professional, or at least anybody, can shed some light on what I should do, or what some strategies I can come up with. I've tried a lot of things. I've tried antidepressants. I've tried, I used to be alcoholic, and now I don't even drink, even if I wanted to, which I don't because I don't really like feeling sick. I mean, I'm already sick every day, and I can barely get out of bed. It's, as you know, I'm diabetic. I wasn't diagnosed until 2008. uh, anyway, I said a lot of stuff in a video. I was trying to make this video a couple of minutes ago, but apparently it wasn't recording. I'm gonna try to shorten my speech as much as possible because if you watch my other videos, I'm kind of hard to listen to. um, but I'm going to really try to focus and try to get this done. Uh, Basically, I realized, well, I mean, this isn't like something new. I've realized that I've had a problem for a long time. Uh, but I've seen a lot of professionals. I've seen a lot of, I've talked to a lot of people. I went the 12 steps and everything. It's just, it seems like I just have this uncurable thing going on. But I don't know. It's just maybe talking about it will help, and maybe someone out there might help. So I encourage you to make a video response. You can make a video response with your own story if you want. Maybe I can help you. I mean, I may not be perfect, but like a different opinion is always something that's valuable, even if it's your professional background and whatnot are great, and if you have a lot of experience in the area, then great. But still, don't feel that you're not able to help someone just because you're not professional. Anyway, what I was saying is that a couple days ago, someone showed me a video, and it says like it's a video called you may know you I don't know if someone showed it to you, but it really freaked me out, and it's called a prank gone wrong, and it shows these two complete this lady and probably presumably her boyfriend or something, two complete assholes, terrible people, and they thought they were funny, but they're complete assholes. So to even think of this, because I would never do this to anybody, is they dressed up like a freaking burglar and like snuck into their house and like pretended to be like a burglar, and like she ran out the house and got hit by a car. And I asked the people who showed it to me. I said when I first started, I paused it and I said, "Is this a snuff film? Because I don't want to see this." I should have been really stressed on that because they said no, no, it's nothing. They said it, but it's scary, and I said okay, and I watched it, and sure enough, it was a snuff film. I mean, it may have been staged, but it was still a snuff film to me. It was real enough, and it freaked me out at first, and then 2 minutes out, I was doing some translation for a scan group, Sweet Indulgent Scans, if you must know. Uh, because I kind of just like I want to work more on my Japanese and also help people out in it, and with translations the best I can, and at least get some experience in the field so I can get some practice translating, and especially since comic books are my area of expertise in Japanese. And I'll say in another video something related to that, because most of my videos are related to that, and this video is something completely different. Is I want to, from as far earlier as remember and up until like now, and like I was saying, is anyway, what happened after like about 2 minutes, I was trying to translate again, and then I couldn't focus, and then I literally flipped my computer, and it's fine, as you can see, it's still there. Still running. It's perfect. But I literally flipped the table that my computer was on and locked myself in the bathroom, that whole story. And, I just wanted, I didn't know what to do. I just wanted to scream at the top of my lungs and lock myself in the bathroom. And so I was doing some thinking is that this is kind of a pattern is every time I see something that's very violent, like very very violent and realistic, and like one that I lose all control of myself and I completely like go into this little ball and I can't function for at least 10 minutes. Well, this happened one time, at least one time before. Is a couple of years ago, I was with my friends. We were going to Panda Express, and on the way, a guy got sideswiped. A guy riding a bike got sideswiped by a car, and I saw him fall. And I thought, I thought he was going to get really hurt, and I just like went to the ground and I started screaming. And I think people were more freaked out about me screaming than the guy that actually got hit. And I think maybe because of my screaming, like the cops showed up, and apparently he was on probation for probably for being drunk, and he got arrested. So that's whatever. But what I'm trying to say is like I think maybe I can throw it out into the ethers of the internet, someone out there who may be able to help me, and I just feel stuck, and I'm gonna explain a couple things. Is that I am diabetic. I wasn't diagnosed till 2008, and so a lot of my problems are related to that. But I know a lot of diabetics who are able to function and who live a really functional life. Like the owner of this house that I'm living in, for example, he works. He makes like $80 an hour. I don't know how much he makes, but I don't like to discuss things like that with people. I like to see people for people. But anyway, off topic, like I always am. Anyway, I'm trying to make a video with one thing, but I can't. I always get sidetracked. Anyway, okay, so I'm trying to make a video, and this is still recording. Okay, yes, good. Anyway, and now when I put it back, I don't want it to stop recording, because if it stops recording, this will be very bad. Anyway, I can't know if it's recording or not because there's no light, and I have to look at it. And if I'm looking at it, then I'm not record. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, so what I'm hoping is that someone out there might be able to shed some light on, things that are going on. And whoever you are, if you can sit through my videos, you are a wonderful person because I am very, very sporadic and I take a long time to get to simple points. So anyway, thank you very much for bearing with me and if in my other videos too. But I'm sincere. I seriously hope there's someone out there who, out of the kindness of their heart, will watch this video and help me put the pieces together and help me move forward at least. If not based on the past, if not just like Tony Robbins is saying, it's not your past, it's who you are now and what you're gonna do with it. But some things in the past can help you, I believe, and maybe someone out there can shed some light on it. Is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so my earliest memory, I don't really remember any real traumatic experiences, like except for my bike getting stolen. That's my earliest memory is my dad teaching me how to ride a bike. I mostly have happy memories. But the thing about repression is that maybe bad things happened and I completely shut them down. And I'm feeling them now, but they're way back there where, they're way back there. Back there should stay back there. It should not be here. But I'm over here, but my mind's still back here, and I don't even know what it is. So anyway, what my mom told me is that when I was a baby, when I was really, well, not a baby and an infant and a toddler, like up till 2 or so, is that the only way to calm me when I was upset and like all kids get, they cry and stuff, is that the only thing that would calm me down was that she would show me Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which was the only movie that would calm me down. The only thing that would calm me down was showing me that movie, and it's a great movie, of course. And now in retrospect, I'm like, I can understand why I liked it. It had cartoons, it had good music, it had great actors. It's a really good movie, and it was really well written. But anyway, that's besides the topic. So I heard, and like people will say like, oh yeah, it's a sign of autism, blah, blah, blah. How people are who take a psychology class and they think they're, geniuses. But anyway, I'm not looking for a diagnosis, and I'm just looking, like some advice. Anyway, so after that, I had some problems, early on in school, like in kindergarten. I would do all the, I'd play along with everyone, and I would get it, but I would have problems acting out, and I went through a lot of in school therapy, which I went through speech therapy, which is it's funny how that works out. Is I had a speech problem, and then later on in life, I developed a love for languages, and it's like, it's kind of ironic how that works out. Is that I had a very big problem actually saying my thoughts, and now I do nothing but that. It's like, maybe because of my problem is why. Anyway, um, so when I was early on in school, I would also get picked on a lot by other kids, and a lot of people have the same story, and maybe even those kids get that were picking on me probably had their own like problems, at home or whatever. But anyway, like it really affected me because I thought I was unattractive. I thought I was, a complete failure. And, my teachers praised me all the time because I always knew the answer. And all I would have to do is read the textbook once and I would understand it or see it on the board or whatever. Or I could watch a documentary about it and understand, like, when I was a kid, like a really little kid, like 4, I would apparently I don't remember this, but my parents said that we watched a documentary like a day before about bats, and like the next day I was on a road trip. I was just talking about the whole thing in detail, like from like verbatim almost. But so that's why early on all the teachers said, "Oh, like we should, like help him develop his math," and like, "Oh, it's like honor student, and it's we have a childhood genius here. We should nurture it." But then what ended up happening was I eventually, I would do really well in understanding things, but as time went on, people stopped giving me praise, and then I ended up, just giving up kind of on that, and just, part of it is probably because that's probably when I hit puberty was probably that's when hormones fire off, and diabetes is based on is insulin is a hormone, and your pancreas produces it. So um, I probably developed diabetes as a result of when you go into puberty, all your hormones start to fire out, and that's probably when it developed. It was probably dormant until then. But anyway, before that, I I would go to school every day, and I would what would happen was all the kids would always, they would make a really big point about not being around me. And, I just, being, like me, I just accepted it. I was just like, maybe this is just how life is. I'm just going to keep going, and I'm not going to, try to, I'm not going to ball up. I'm just going to keep going. And, I would always like cry a lot because I was like, well, I'm ugly. How come girls don't like me? How come nobody wants to talk to me? How come, am I ugly? And it was really, really bad and still is. But, I ended up developing a lot more, self-worth over time because I'm like, you know what? Screw those people. And, anyway, middle school happened and my grades started dropping. I got straight A's up until seventh grade. Like I had like straight A's, and all my problems were in behavior. Up until then. After then, it was only my grades were bad. The other behavior was just like like uh, I followed a girl around too much because you know, okay, in fifth grade, something really traumatic happened, I guess. Well, yeah, is I had a crush on this girl, and I didn't know how to, I was 10 or 11, and I didn't know how to go about, because I was so used to people thinking I'm ugly and that I'm a complete reject and that I'm a failure. So I followed her around during recess, because I thought she was pretty, and, uh, I would always follow her around, and she, didn't like it. And, then one day in class, I tried to be funny and I said, "Oh, let's take all of our clothes off." And like, because I watched a lot of Simpsons and TV and stuff. Because when I went home, I would always watch, a lot of cartoons and stuff. Because I did my homework, really fast, and so I had a lot of free time, and so I ended up just playing video games and reading, and and most of my video games I played were reading too. So it's like I did a lot of reading and watching movies, like old movies over and over and over and over, which people say that's a sign of being autistic or autism or Asperger's. But you know what? I think there's everybody is human and everybody has similar side effects. And if you label it, then you're just looking for something to have a problem with. These are things that everybody has. It's just my particular one was that, I find comfort in watching things that I've seen before because it helps me see, it helps me come back to a place that I understand. Because movies, I understand. Cartoons, I understand. But some people avoiding me and ridiculing me and chasing me and ripping up my magic cards and stuff like that I couldn't understand. I could not deal with that. I was always getting straight A's. In math especially. I got an award. I got a certificate that for advanced math that was like signed by Bill Clinton or something. And when I graduated from sixth grade, me and about like five others got this special award for math for excellence in mathematics. And so but like seventh grade hit, and I was really excited because I'm like, well, like I get to go to school and there's like multiple teachers. I don't have just have one teacher. But then the teachers, just they care, but it's harder to care individually when you have so many students. I mean, it's the nature of it. And I don't like to blame anybody because everybody just wants to help. I mean, except for the people who really don't want to help, like the bullies, the bad bullies, the ones that like, that they have their own problem too. It's not me, it's them. But it's like I don't like putting blame on people because for so long I would put blame on my parents because like I had 10 animals in the house but we had barely had any food, and my brother would eat cat food for sometimes for I don't know for shock value or I don't know but there was barely any food in the house sometimes, and growing up like when I was like 8 to 12 or so. And it's just like we had a lot of it has to do with my mom because she really wanted the animals. My dad worked like really hard, programming, and they ended up going through a divorce because he had a he has rheumatoid arthritis, and he's dealing with it now by doing a variety of tasks. But back then, he just wanted to get, he just wanted to, stop working and like it's your turn, Shannon. Oh wait, sorry. Anyway, it's a first name, whatever. uh, oh wait. Anyway, you said it's your turn. Basically, they were not right, but putting blame on them is not going to solve it. That's their problem. I mean, it became my problem because I'm their kid, and it affected my older brothers and my sister. But it's just the past is the past, and you can't change it. I mean, that being said, you can still, there's a lot of stuff that's leading up to this, and it was something that was completely out of my control, and it doesn't make my parents bad people. It just makes their decisions bad, because my dad, uh, he always complains about how my mom would always go shopping and go out drinking and stuff. But my dad would stay in his room and he would stay in his little shack and do a little. He at least had a very uh, he was very compassionate about ham radio and Morse code and making rigs and stuff and building stuff that would run on like less than a AAA battery and stuff like that. Stuff he was in like magazines and stuff like a local magazine I think, or at least a California magazine. He would go to like Yellowstone and like do a bunch of hiking and stuff. That was his hobby. But he would do it all day and in his little shack with a bottle of tequila with stacks of newspapers. And you know, my mom, she didn't work at all for the long until they got divorced. and she would just stay home and talk on the phone and go to her friend's house and drink margaritas and go shopping and have like 300 pairs of shoes. And I have to go through, while me and my sister and my brothers had to go through the free lunch program, and we had to go to counseling for acting out. And they wanted, I'm sorry about the resentment in my voice, but uh, I'm still a little resentful about my parents, because they thought all the problems were my fault. And for the longest time, I felt like it was my fault. I felt like I was the one that was wrong. I'm this crazy person. But no, they put all the blame on on me instead of taking the, responsibility for, their parenting decisions. And this is why I don't want to have kids, because I mean I think I need to work on myself. I need to repair from this. It's, like, some people say, oh, it's not funny, you went through a lot. But like, if I don't have laughter in my life, then how am I supposed to deal with it? I'm just gonna crash. And like, I like to have the laughter when I'm laughing. I mean, there's times when their laughter is just not okay. When but right now it's okay. When I'm laughing, it's okay to laugh. And it's just, there's nothing I could have really done about my parents. Like, I was a kid. I was completely defenseless. It was completely out of my control. But the problem is now that I'm an adult, I'm still there, and I'm still having those problems. And that is still out of my control. It's never going to be in my control. It's always going to be this frozen frame. And that's why, I'm still having I'm still seeing all those frames over here, but I'm way over here, and it's starting to have this cumulative effect, a snowball effect, where from the past is affecting my future, but then is affecting my present, but also what I'm doing in the present is affecting me too. It's like I'm letting it keep coming back and back and back. And it's like uh it's like all through, anyway. The problem with I had this huge ordeal in fifth grade with that girl, and uh, there was almost going to be a huge problem. Apparently, I might have gone to juvie. I don't know. It was I don't know. There's so much my parents won't tell me. I had a nervous breakdown in 2007, and I ended up going to, I ended up living in a different city away from my parents, and just, I just like, just completely trying to repair with my aunt. And I went to college. I was going swimming, and then she said that something was wrong, and she's really holistic and stuff like that. And she's into, like, spirits and fairies and elements. And she's really, like, she's like a self-claimed psychic. And she's a really, she's really developed abstract artist. She has really refined brush stroke techniques and stuff. But she has her own problem where it's more of a pride thing. But anyway, uh, she was trying to help me because she thought I had worms, and because I was eating so much. And I had this problem since I went into middle school, is that puberty hit, and all of a sudden I couldn't wake out and get up and get out of bed. I mean, at the same time, the divorce was going on. So I had this divorce going on where where I was blaming myself, I was blaming my parents, I was blaming everyone, and also I had something that was going on that I didn't know was happening, which was diabetes. And so these both together, it confuses things, because you think something's going on, but something else is going on. So basically, I wasn't able to get up out of bed. I would stay home like 40 days a year at least, and I ended up not graduating high school because of it. And during class, I would and it wasn't just because I missed school. It's like during class, I would fall asleep. I just, I learned the material. I got zeros because the teachers were like, "You're sleeping in class. You have to be a perfect student. You have to da 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 da." And like, I ended up, I ended up only really having the drive to pursue my music development, because I played trombone. I mean, first I played drums. Well, first I played saxophone for like a couple days, But then I played trumpet for 2 years in elementary school, and then I switched to percussion. No, I played trumpet for 1 year, and then I played percussion, and I did the whole thing, and I kind of have like an innate metronome always going on in my head. I always have this thing going on. Anyway, in middle school, I switched to trombone, and I got really intense. But my teacher had mental problems, which he later, he worked on, and he also reduced his workload later on. By the time I was a senior in high school, he switched to only teaching in the middle school because he taught the middle school and the high school, and he just had like a bunch of anger and stress and mental problems, and he chain smoked and stuff, and then he stopped smoking, he got better, but then he still had the anger and the and then because he has to deal with so many students, and students are like crazy, they don't practice. they don't they that it's like, why are you in band if you don't want to practice? They just like wanted an easy A. And I think he had problems too, but I was one of the students that liked to act out, so I was naturally subject to his mental illness. So he always called out students, um, and like made everybody kind of like laugh at students, and I kind of perpetuated that by being the class clown. And there was a couple of us that were like that, and in high school is like that. Like I everyone always called me ugly still, and nobody hung out with me. I would jump into conversations because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to function in conversations. I didn't know that you can't just jump into you can't just walk up to people who are talking and jump into the conversation. If you do that in real life, you'll get you'll get arrested. Like, I mean, you're not going to get arrested, but I mean, it's just weird when you're talking in a private conversation with somebody and someone shows up and says, "Hey guys, what's up?" Maybe that's part of my, I some people might say it's creepy, but I think it's like, I didn't have any creepy intent, like I was just trying to befriend people, and the only way I knew was just to because nobody came to me. I was always alone during lunch, but so I tried to get out of that by going up to people and saying, "Hey guys, what's up?" Like, hey, like, did you guys watch Family Guy? And like, because I watched every single show, like every like I'm not really like that anymore. I only follow Family Guy and South Park right now, but um, I used to follow all the shows, and like that people watched, but most people didn't. They didn't talk about it. They just watched it. And it's kind of different these days. People are more open, and people are like, it's cool to be a geek now. I was like that before it was cool. I was into anime and stuff as a kid, and I was like always talking about video games and stuff, but it wasn't cool to do that. It was cool to like have a trophy and like play sports and stuff, and or like doing something cool, or it wasn't cool to be a geek back then, and now it is. It's like it's like I kind of missed out. Like I could have had a really happy life, but it's like you can't. I mean, if you keep going by like, oh, if only I was born this generation, if only, like you only have one life, and it's like the way it is for a reason. The thing is that you have to not let it bring you down. And part of that is sometimes you have to give yourself delusions, because otherwise you won't survive. Because if everybody around your life is telling you that you're gonna fail, and the only thing that you have that's keeping you alive, which kept me alive, is knowing that no, you're wrong. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna succeed. Even though millions of people try doing it, the only reason they failed is because they gave up. And so, but I mean, now I'm at this point where I don't think just persisting and not giving up are enough. And so I'm trying to actually look for more methods. And I'm starting to actually, I think I need to go to Berkeley and meet Japanese people, because I heard from a Japanese person I talked to on Skype that that in California there's a lot of Japanese in Berkeley. I also heard from another Japanese friend from high school. He came over from Okinawa, that in San Jose, or more Southern California, there's more Japanese. So I don't know. But either way, it's just like I don't have a diploma. It's like, how am I going to get this? Okay, now I need to get the method. Like I've been avoiding the method for so long, just by going like, I just need to keep at it. I need to keep at it. I need to keep at it. I need to keep at it. But there comes a point, like you could be keeping at it for like your whole life and not get there. And I don't want to be 40 years old and still like just, you know, like this the same way I am now, I want to, move forward. I want to work with people. I want to meet people. I want to work with people. I want to help people. I want to help promote world peace. I want to help change the world. But I can't do that if I'm stuck in the past. And so, part of it's my parents. Part of it's my illness, which, anyway, the whole thing about the thing, I had a nervous breakdown, is I was smoking a lot of weed and I was drinking a lot. And there was this one week where I was just drinking and smoking a lot. And I ended up going to a party and I quit my job. And then the week continued. I did some mushrooms at the party and then quit my job. And then what happened was, the mushrooms that, I've done those before. I don't want to do it again, but it wasn't really that set it off. Because, I mean, it happened, and then I came down, and then I was, back to, drinking and smoking again. But anyway, what happened is I kept like hanging out with more and more like kind of sketchy people. And so I start with the sketchier the people get, I was like, wait a minute. Like, are you guys putting something in the weed? And like I started getting really paranoid. And then, I was like I couldn't stop anymore. I didn't know I didn't know which way it was up. I, I mean that's I mean, I'm not gonna put a blanket statement here. I mean, literally what happened was I freaked out. And I went over, I stayed with my brothers. I had to get away from the trailer park, away from my dad. I mean, he's in a rut. I don't want to be there anymore. I don't want to, I lived with him in his little teeny trailer that's moldy, and it's like, he can do that to himself. I try to help him, but he can only help himself. I had to get myself away from that. And, after a while, I was in the homeless shelters, and even the homeless shelters was better than being with my dad in the trailer park. But I digress. What happened was I stayed at my brother's. I thought like I died. I thought I was this ghost that was like trying to, cross over to the other side, and that like I was like stuck and being held by something, and that I had to fix my family. And part of this, is like in a sense true. Is like, I do feel like I'm the light that's shining for my family, and if I killed myself, I would be hurting my family more than anything I could do otherwise, because I think that, my whole family is broken. I mean, they're trying really hard. I mean, they made a lot of leaps and bounds, but I think it's because they saw in me the effects of what they've done, and I kind of took all of the heat. I was kind of like I was the embodiment of all the problems my parents were facing and how they took it out on my oldest brother, but my oldest brother would take it down. You know how it trickles down. He ended up going to the army because he didn't want to be a part of that. He wanted to go do something else, and now he has a beautiful family, and he's really happy, and he's reenlisted in the army. He's Green Beret. He's gone way past what my family like, the limitations, the limited little teeny world my family lived in, and kind of in a sense still does. But he saw that there's a world outside of that little tiny family, and that you're the master of your own destiny, and that you don't have to, just because someone tells you that things should be the way they should, and that you're doing it wrong, and that you need to be doing it this way, or else you're not going to make it. He saw that you don't need to do it that way. He went to the army. He trained hard. He became sergeant. He led men. He was in charge of people, and if he messed up, they would have died. He went through some, psychological problems, and but he went to therapy and he dealt with it, and now he has a family and they're all happy, and he has nothing but love and happiness in his family. And just seeing that happen gave me hope, because I took all of the damage from my family. I mean, my other brother, he does a lot of, he's kind of in denial a lot, and he has anger issues, and my sister kind of just balls up into this little thing. And I feel like I'm the only one who's ever really tried to break out of it besides my oldest brother. And, like, I feel like, maybe if I was gone, I don't think I don't think they would be able. I don't think they would just completely shut down, and because I mean they would be, they'd start doing the whole like, oh, I failed Alex, oh no no no, and they would just go down this downward spiral. But it's just like, how am I supposed to go from where I am from where I was then to go past it? And it's just I'm really. Oh wait, what happened in fifth grade was I liked this girl and I followed her around, and then apparently my parents ended up talking to her parents and got her out of me getting into huge trouble, which I wasn't even aware of. And to this day, I think my parents are keeping secrets from me. And when I had that breakdown in 2007, I literally said, if you don't tell me something that I should know that you have been keeping from me, then you are the most terrible people in the world. And I think that they kept silent because they think that'll damage me. I think maybe that's it. Because I think there's stuff that happened that I don't remember, that they know, and they don't tell me. And it's really frustrating because I don't know for sure if that's the case. And only they know. And maybe they're telling the truth. Maybe they're just like, oh, there's nothing happened. But it's just knowing them, there has to be. I mean, I can almost picture them coming to me several years later and saying, "Oh, remember that time that you asked me stuff happening? Oh, so, it actually did happen," and you know, I'm mentally prepared for that now. But it's like I'm trying to piece this together and get my life in order, and the only people who have any kind of understanding of what happened before I can remember things are them. And what am I supposed to, I mean, they've been like through lots of fights. They terrible, terrible marriage. I mean, they stayed together just for us. I mean, they should have got divorced a long time ago. They should have got divorced way before they had me. Like, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, I can't really say it because I don't know what would happen if I wasn't born, because I'm born now, and so I only know what has happened, and I can't say what would happen if I wasn't born because I wouldn't exist if, I mean, at least in this form, if I wasn't born. Anyway, they continued having kids. My mom had to take birth hormones because she couldn't have children, and so I think that's part of my, maybe why I developed diabetes. I mean, I was probably the 1 out of 10 chance or something, and out of 4 kids, I happened to be the one that developed it because of the extra, hormones and all that stuff that my mom was going through, because she had to take birth hormones, and she just kept on having kids. But the thing is, like, my parents, they shouldn't have had kids. I mean, they had a lot of problems. They should have went their separate ways a long time ago. My dad is still stuck in when he was a Marine. He's like he lives in complete filth. Yet he claims that he learned all these great lessons from the United States Marine Corps, and and all that stuff. It's like, what the hell? It's like, if you really learned all these great things from the Marines, then wouldn't you be applying them? It's like, I'm really confused because he lives in complete filth and drinks every day, and he's gotten a lot better. I love my dad, and I don't want to say have any disrespect for him. He's a great guy, and he just wants to play his video game on Facebook, and he works a really good job that pays well, and he wants to get he wants to get a new trailer, but it's, I can't be the judge of how he wants to live his life. I can only be the judge of how I want to live my life, and I know that I do not want to be in. Yeah, I don't want to be a slave to what happened to me in the past anymore. And so I'm kind of making this video in an attempt that someone might be able to help me, uh, professional or otherwise. But and basically this is how I make all my videos. So I've probably repeated myself several times. Anyway, in seventh grade, I had a crush on another girl, and I did the same thing. I was always asking her, like, why wouldn't she go out with me? Why don't you go out with me? Am I not attractive? I mean, what is it that you want? Like, I was like, how come no? And I still feel this way, but now I'm a little bit, like, I need to take care of myself. I can't rely on a woman. It's just like, for the longest time, my mom relied on a man to save her. But now she's starting to get, she's starting to become more dependent, and she's with a man. But it's different. It's different than when she was with her past relationships, which was really damaging relationships where she was always the victim. Uh, it was just she was always getting criticized for how she raised her children. I mean, which he the guy she was with after my dad, he was right, but at the same time, he doesn't have any right to, if you keep on putting people down, it's not going to bring them up. You need to bring them up. You need to show them love and compassion. And what he did, he's no genius either. His kids, he spoils all his kids, and they're brats, and they put up a good front, but they say a bunch of stuff and behind people's backs, and they don't really say, they say stuff and it's completely fake and you can see it. Like me, like I'm always real. I'm always like, okay, cut the crap. What is really going on? And I think that's one of my when I'm really down and like freaking out and crying and in a really bad depression, my best friends, my closest friends, they'll remind me of how so few people do what I do. So few people actually say what's on their mind and say, okay, I don't want to put up this front just because society dictates that that's what you're supposed to do. I'm just going to go get down right into the dirt and dig out that rose bush. But anyway, it happened again in seventh grade, happened again in eighth grade. This girl I liked, and you know, it kept it's after that the girls I liked kind of they probably had their own problems and so they dealt it with it in a different way. They made it so I didn't like her anymore because I was like, wow, she's a bitch. But anyway, I'm kind of glad it happened, retrospect, because the real woman will come along and she won't care about how I talk or how I say things, or she it's not like she'll love me, like relationship is not about like, oh, I want to be with someone and that's that. It's more like you have to love yourself, and if I can't love myself, then how is someone else supposed to love me? And then it's like the relationship becomes the embodiment of both people sharing and working together, and like if you're in a marriage right now and not everything's going right, people invest tons of money in therapy, but what they really need is just to be honest with themselves. And it's so easy once you do it, but once you do it, you have to be prepared for what comes after. And because you can't just expect just to be honest and not to feel any hurt, because it's gonna hurt really bad. I mean, it happened to me. I completely just, I halted everything in 2007. I think this actually had to happen. Is I completely freaked out. I didn't know who I was anymore. I thought I was Jesus Christ for a second. I thought that I had to do something, and that. But I mean, like, I thought that my brother was like way too prideful. He had all his medals on his wall, so I took all the medals down and I put it in a little box. And he thought I stole them, because he being because he was in the army and he was military police, and then he went to the police academy. He was in the police academy at this time, and so he's used to thinking about, like, okay, if people do stuff like this, it's because they're stealing, and because of all these classes I took, and like common stuff. And some things you can only learn with experience, not with books and classes, because a rookie cop is not the same as a cop who's seen hundreds and thousands of things happening and can actually see the patterns. Like, they can see things. Someone who's experienced and has seen a lot, they can see things that are underlie the factors, rather than just what a textbook can tell you. But anyway, he thought I was like stealing it and gonna sell it and stuff. I don't know what the fuck his problem is, but anyway, like, I'm not like that. Like, I've never been like that. Like, I don't know. Like, he just thought I was like some drug addict and that I was just gonna steal his stuff and like and like hawk all his shit. Like, what the fuck? But anyway, during that time, I ended up. I think my family became closer than ever during that time, because they said, like, listen, we did something wrong, and we feel it too, and it's really hurting Alex. And it's like I was like really loud about it. I think actually it wasn't all just me. I think it was I was basically being their voice. Let me see if this is still recording. Yeah, 44 minutes. Wow. Sorry, guys. Anyway, yeah, it's life, so whatever. I'm not gonna cut it short just because length. I mean, I can put out a 20-hour video if I want. I can put out a 3,000-hour video if I want because YouTube does that. But, I'm not going to go on and on needlessly. I'm only going to go as long as I need to, or until I feel like I need to take a break and I need to do like, some, get a fresh perspective on things and continue. Because it's an ongoing process. Life is crazy, as we all know. And the only sanity you can have is the sanity you create. And anyway, this basically, I'm not like this, wise guru who knows everything. I'm really young, actually, and I have a lot to learn. I'm 24. And, but still, that being said, people in their 50s have actually come to me and said that that I helped them see life how it really is. Like they were giving up, but they saw me, in the homeless shelter, for example. There was, there, something that makes me feel really good about myself and why I kind of want to get into, not counseling, but like, uh, like, helping people, just, helping people, not really counseling, just like help people, find what they want to do and help them stay on that path and stuff. I guess that would be counseling, but I'm not really cut out to be a counselor. I guess I have way too many problems. But maybe that's why I'm good at being a counselor. I don't know. It's a really hard question, but no, I mean, I want to work with people who speak different languages because that's what I'm into, and I want to, end up helping the whole world maintain world peace. That's my goal. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna, you only have one life, and if you don't do what you really feel you need to do, that is your calling, then what are you really doing? You're just waiting to die. And if you're just waiting to die, then it's like it's not fun. It's not even a fun life. It's just like this life where you're just like you're filled with stuff. You have like a TV, you have a giant screen TV, you have you have a you may have a job that pays well, and but you feel something empty. Sometimes you have to get a little dirty, and I think I had to go through the homeless shelters in order to understand that life is tough for everybody, and not just in people who seemingly, I met people who I believe them because it's possible for anyone to go into a rut. I know people who had like several figure jobs where they would make $100,000 a year and charge of big companies, but they ended up right smack dab in the homeless shelter because they just lost it. They lost it all, and they didn't know who they were. They had all this stuff. They accumulated all this wealth, but they didn't know who they were. And I think that's what I've been dedicating my whole life, was finding out who I am, because then everything else will fall in place. So basically, in the homeless shelter, one moment that's really struck me out and made me want to dedicate myself to helping people who don't know English and people who want to learn languages too. Not just, people who, see, there's two ways. There's people who come to America who want to learn English, and there's also people who want to go to other countries and succeed. Like, I'm like that, for example. I want to go to Korea and Japan and China and Taiwan and, work with people and meet people and do some fun stuff and, see the world and, like learn, make a lot of business contacts and maybe learn something new. I don't know. You can't really know. Like, I picked, I've been focusing a lot on StarCraft recently because of South Korea. It's really famous, and StarCraft 2 came out now, and Brood War is a really good game. Don't get me wrong. It's just I think I have an unhealthy like addiction to just never giving up, and I'm like, I think it's gonna be almost near impossible for me to go pro in Brood War. But StarCraft 2 I might be able to go pro because it's actually a thing in America. Like Brood War was not known in America except for people like me who played the game. It's just gamers. But, and we're starting to break out into, like just because you play video games doesn't mean you're this like loser. Like, people who play video games for, really well, like especially, like strategy games and stuff like that. These are people who, there's something really right about these people. But, but like nowadays we're starting to see that. And in South Korea, they already knew that. And in Asia, China and South Korea mainly. But, excuse me. Going through school, people like me, were called rejects and ridiculed, and we were called recluses because we played video games for 10 hours at a time and stuff like that. You know, we would stay up and play StarCraft and keep trying to get better and better. And you know, if you keep at it, you'll end up going pro. And I think I can do that with StarCraft too. I want to do that with Brood War, and maybe I still can. Maybe I can go to South Korea and meet a bunch of people, and just maybe I'll actually be like go like, you know, most Americans go pro in StarCraft 2. Maybe I'll actually start this whole Brood War thing, like revolution, like a revival or something like that. Because just like chess and Go, just because it's an old game doesn't mean it's not a good game. I mean, StarCraft Brood War is a very, very solid game. It has I mean, it has its quirks because people don't like to have only groups of 12 or whatever. But that's just like saying chess is a bad game because the pawns can only move one space, except at the beginning. Like, you know, don't blame, only a poor craftsman blames his tools, is what my roommate keeps saying. Is it still recording? Uh, but I mean, you know, it's just like, just use the rules that are given and do the best you can with games like that, like chess, and like with StarCraft, Brood War, and Original, which I still really like Original because it's like playing Brood War, but you don't have all the extra pieces. So it's like you have a little, it gives you different strategy ideas, and you have different things to deal with, and so I'm just really, I'm a fanatic. So, excuse me. Anyway, my point was earlier I was saying something about something, and wow. Anyway, I was talking about oh yeah, okay. I was in the homeless shelter, and there was this guy who came from Mexico. He didn't speak a word of English, but when he spoke English, but he's basically he never got a chance. He really wanted to learn English. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's doing really well. He had a really strong draw. I saw myself in him because I saw his notebook. He had English words written down. He would write stuff down over and over and over, and you know, try to learn English. And you know, when he went into the homeless shelter, one of the which I think is really counter. This is really counter. I mean, you think that, you know, they have all these programs to help people get out of homelessness and stuff, but I saw this. I thought this was really strange. Is that the what do they call them? Administrators? No, the coordinate. I don't know. The admin. Anyway, the administrator that was taking over, that was she's bilingual, English Spanish. She introduced him and said, if you want to talk to him, talk to someone who knows Spanish. And so I was like, wait a minute, like, why don't you just talk to him? Like, he's learning English. How is he supposed to learn if he doesn't speak it? And so I went up to him, and I told him, I talked to him for a while. I told him how, like, you know, I'm into Japanese stuff. I showed him my books, and he was like, wow, you're crazy. It's like all Chinese, and he's all, but you know, he understood more English than I think he gave himself credit for. And I just think he couldn't had trouble, like with my Japanese. I can see myself in him because I think I feel the same way with Japanese because I don't ever speak it except on camera or random Skype occurrences. And so I went up to him and I spent time with him for, you know, you know, a cut, like, you know, I spent time with him every day until I left the shelter. I'm pretty sure, from my memory. And you know, like someone even came up to me with his a lady that was the front desk, working the front desk, that was also in the shelter. But this lady that was, I think, his mentor or coach or teacher, or I don't know, but she shook my hand and said, like, you like, you've been a really big help, and he's told me about you, and that you inspired, like, you know, that he wants to, he's more confident now. And I showed him, you know, you don't have to just be all like in a classroom to learn English. I showed him English dubs of anime. I showed him Street Fighter 2V, and he thought it was really funny. And I think, you know, he was like, "Oh, this is good. This is good stuff. Like, I can learn a lot from this." Like, I think I got him really motivated to get out of that rut of not knowing English, and you know, it's just like, I think it's not the method, but the idea that you know, I think it was all inside himself already, and all I had to do was show him that it's not just this one thing to teach you English, that it's all around you all the time, especially if you live in California and or in America and people speak English. You don't have to just speak with Spanish speakers. And I think that idea alone helped him learn. And I really hope he's doing all right now, and all that. But it's just it was those moments in my life, moments like that, that really like helped me shape who I want to become. And I really think another counterproductive thing I found was I kind of when I was in another homeless shelter that was kind of like dirtier, but anyway, I spoke to some counselors, and they were talking to me because I was studying Chinese 8 hours a day every single day because I didn't know what else to do. I was in the homeless shelter. I couldn't get a job. I mean, I looked for jobs. I couldn't. I still can't get a job. I can't get out of. I can't even get out of bed sometimes. I mean, my health problems, but I couldn't go out every single day and filling out applications. I felt like it was a waste of time because all I was doing was filling out applications, sending them in. They would smile, and then I would never see anyone again. And if I got rare chance I got an interview, I would just get like shoved aside. And so I said, you know what? Instead of wasting my time doing this, I'm gonna go to the college. I'm gonna go to the library. I'm gonna sit at the computer. I'm gonna listen to Chinese. I'm gonna write in my notebook. I'm just gonna get as much Chinese done as I can every single day, taking breaks, of course. I had to get coffee. I would drink coffee all day because I needed something to help me learn Chinese. I was like, whoa, and now I feel I feel my Chinese is really weak, and it's because I haven't worked on it. I've been working on my Korean because I don't know. I really can't explain it. I've just been taking a break from Chinese, but that doesn't mean that I didn't learn anything. But anyway, what I did, but I kind of had I kind of flipped at the shelter, and I almost got thrown out because this guy was watching. These people were watching football completely all day in the shelter, and people wanted to watch something else, and I wanted to watch something Chinese because it was Sunday, and I couldn't go to I couldn't go to the college, and so during commercials I flipped over to the Chinese channel to get some news in, just like 30 seconds. I was completely like I was, I had, that was really, I had something, something else was going on. I was just really frustrated, and I don't know. But anyway, like, we had this, I kind of like pushed him aside and changed the channel, and I almost got thrown out. But, and then a couple days after that, I talked to some counselors, and the counselors, the whole time, they were saying, they were really kind of negative. Like, I can't understand, and my Chinese teacher in, last year, in 2011, she did this. She was the same way. I don't understand how someone could be a teacher but say really negative things to people because they were saying, "Oh, it's great that you're studying Chinese, but how are you going to pay the bill?" And like stuff like that. They're like pretty much just like saying like, "Oh, how are you gonna like you need to go get a job." Like I was like, I tried getting a job, that wasn't working. So instead of wasting my time, I'm gonna go study Chinese for 8 hours a day because that's the only thing I know how to do. Is study really hard. And whether I get results or not is irrelevant to me because I know the results will come. It just takes time. And the more, if you just spend your whole life trying to, waiting, if you spend your whole life waiting for opportunities to come, you have to create those opportunities. The fact that I was going to studying Chinese every day meant that I was on the mind track of, I was on the mindset of, I am doing this. I'm going to find everything I need, and everything I need will come up as I look for it. And at the moment, I was, at that time, I was trying to get into a scholarship program. I was trying to go to China or Taiwan and study in a college because that felt like that was my only option. And I was watching Tony Robbins today, and I was just like, you know what? He was talking about Sylvester Stallone and like how he didn't have a job because he was so set on becoming an actor. I mean, obviously, Sylvester Stallone's story is probably a little exaggerated because it's a story. I mean, you can't when you tell your life story. If you tell everything like it would take too long to tell you. You kind of have to like kind of clump things together and say it in more symbolic ways. I mean, when I talk, the reason I talk so much is because I do the symbolic ways, but I also do the literal ways because sometimes symbolism doesn't always. I mean, it's great to be symbolic, but I mean, at some point you really need to remember that the specifics do matter. I mean, for a while I was like, oh, the specifics don't matter. But no, the specifics matter. It's just that some people put too much emphasis on the specifics. Likewise, some people put too much emphasis on the ideas. And so you have to find this balance. So, anyway, they basically told me when I got, they kept on saying like, oh, but like you can't just study all the time. You have to go to college. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm trying to get the scholarship. They're like, I never heard of this scholarship, and I'm like, just because you never heard of it doesn't mean it's real. I mean, get out of your little California only world. I mean, people speak different languages. There's completely different worlds out there that you don't even know. Just because everything you do is in your own little California world, then how are you supposed to understand about the rest of the world? Everybody understands something differently. And there's different ways of thinking. There's different things out there. And, they were pretty much just like, oh, you have to get a job. You have to go to college. You have to get a degree. And I'm like, no, you don't have to do that. You have to be the best you. And I understood this. And I'm still trying to figure out how to make it work for me. And it's really hard. But I feel that if I just give up and, I don't even have an option. I don't have the option of getting a regular job. I just don't. I've tried. I've tried years. I've tried years trying to get a job. I've looked and looked and looked. I've worked jobs, and I had to call in sick a lot. I had to go home, and, I ended up getting fired or I quit. And I just can't do that. I can't do that for 40 years of my life. I just can't. I won't be able to function. So I found that, like, maybe this world needs somebody who's not the norm. Maybe this world needs somebody who says, you know what, just because you say it's supposed to be that way doesn't mean it's that way. I mean, I mean, a lot of my actions in the past were inappropriate to people telling me that, and I've learned to just ignore them. And also, when I do talk to them, I've learned little couple strategies to help them lead them in the direction of understanding. But it's just in the past, people would tell. I thought, all I knew was that I need to keep. I mean, the only structure I've had in my life is that I understand is the structure I created, because the rest of my life was been chaotic, out of my control. But the only thing I could control are my goals and my dreams. And my dreams are not dreams. They're real. They're very achievable. People teach. People translate, people interpret, people do these things for a living. They make really comfortable living out of it. So I don't think it's so far-fetched that I can pursue this. But everybody in my life keeps telling me to stop living a dream. And I mean, at least in my family. And, people related to my family. But, it's just, I had to separate myself from these people. And, it's just like, they keep telling me over and over that I have to get a 9 to 5 job and I have to go to college and get a degree. And yeah, I do want to get a degree. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, I obviously want to go to college. I do go to college, and I have worked on my degree. And I am going to get my GED. My oldest brother keeps saying, "Let's go get your GED. Why don't you go get your GED?" I don't have the money. And that's the only thing he won't understand. My family will help me, but they're not. They think they're helping me, but they're not. All I needed was the money to get the GED, and all they told me was that you need to go get a GED. Why don't you go get the GED? And I'm like, well, I don't. Where's the $80? I don't have $80. And when I did have $80, I had to pay it. I couldn't keep it. I couldn't keep the money. I had to pay it to somebody. I had to pay it to my dad. I had to pay it. It's like, how am I supposed to do these things? I mean, if you're going to be telling me to do these things and that you have to do it, then why don't you at least help me a little bit? I mean, I know I applied for all the programs. It's like, I just, at some point, I'm just like, you know what? I think this is bull crap. Like, why do I need this piece of paper? But you know what? I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it anyway. So what does it even matter? I'm not gonna be a rebel. I'm not some rebel without a cause. I have very specific goals. I have a very realistic view of the world, and most people tell me I have a very delusional view of the world. But I think the reason they think I'm delusional is because they only see a little snapshot. They see, I mean, especially on the internet, is people see, like, me saying something, and they don't see all that I've seen. See, I see everything leading up to now. They only see now. And so they see, oh, I think that the more people get to know me, like my closest friends, the more they understand me, and the more they understand that I'm actually a really good person, even though I don't give myself that much credit. I mean, except now. But I mean, when I'm really down and out, my friends, my real friends, they bring me up because they understand. I mean, most of the time I'm able to bring myself. I keep myself up, but then when I crash, and nothing I do can bring me out of it. I mean, like it'll pass eventually if I'm on my own. But I mean, not without a lot of pain. Not and in the past, a lot of really negative and just completely bad repercussions from my actions. And now I've learned I just need to wait it out, or have someone to talk to, like my roommate. He's a really close friend of mine for like over 10 years, uh, or maybe 8 years. I don't know, 10 years, yeah. Uh, but anyway, yeah, it's like these people understand that I am not delusional. It's like I'm very focused. I'm actually very focused on what I want in life, and I have very realistic goals. And it's just people keep trying to bring me down. At least, and then when I call them on it, they just say, "Oh, I'm just trying to help." It's like, no, you're not trying to help. You're trying to put your ideals, your problems onto me, and I already have enough problems. So it's like these people, like these negative people in my life. Uh, I mean, I have grown to understand that it's actually not me they were yelling at, but themselves. Like my parents, they're really they feel like they failed me, and like they never failed me. They just they did they made a bunch of I mean I've forgiven my parents, and I'm still resentful a little bit, but I don't take it out on them anymore. At least I don't try to. I mean, I lose control sometimes, and I yell because it gets them really emotional, and they're my parents, and they're pretty much I was completely out of control over their actions, and so I don't know what to do about it. But I don't think it's like yelling at them's not going to fix that. And so anyway, it's just if you want to make a response video or comment, it would be really helpful on your perspective. Please avoid negative comments, like I mentioned. If you really did watch this video, you probably won't be one of those people. But if you did watch this video just to like try to troll me or something, and you want like you're bored and you want to troll me, I mean, I'm pretty much untrollable at this point because I, I I'm not giving you a challenge. I'm trying to just if you are watching this video and you want to do something like that, I just want to pose you this one question: is who are you really trying to bring down? I mean, are you trying to bring me down, or are you just taking out all your negativity on me because it's your own problem? So anyway, leave a video response. Maybe tell your life story. I mean, I'm willing to. If anyone gives me a video response to any of my videos, I will watch it and I'll respond. If you want me to respond, I mean, I'll at least watch it. I'll usually respond if it's something that I feel I need to respond to. But I mean, especially if you want me to respond. But anyway, leave your life story, leave any insight, like any advice, any uh, anything you've learned. I don't know. Just anyway, sorry for the hour long video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.